A worrying pattern has arisen across several French-speaking African nations, characterized by a string of coups. Most of the time, folks celebrate these coups in the streets. This tendency to respond optimistically to military coups manifests a deep-seated dissatisfaction with the leaders. As the international community closely monitors these developments, this recurrent tendency has prompted questions about the fundamental causes of political instability and of the people living in these countries. Understanding the processes influencing the political landscape of French-speaking countries in Africa necessitates taking a close look at the causes of the recent spike in coups. Military coups have been a prominent occurrence in African history, frequently linked to the post-independence political environment in the years after decolonization. Economic hardship, political unrest, and power disputes plagued many newly independent African countries, occasionally prompting military involvement. In the early years of independence, there were an increasing number of coups, which were fueled by things like racial or ethnic tensions, weak institutions, economic inequalities, and political elite power rivalries. Following decades of political unrest following independence, military coups started to occur often in several parts of Africa. There are indications that coups are reviving nevertheless, following a time in which the democratic atmosphere was more stable. The recent coup that took place in Gabon is only the most recent in a string of coups that have occurred recently and coincided with a similar military takeover in Niger just 1 month before. Burkina Faso had 2 separate military operations, while attempts to overthrow governments in Guinea-Bissau, the Gambia, and São Tomé and Príncipe highlighted the prevalence of such actions. 6 coup attempts were recorded in various African countries in 2021, which saw a noticeable rise in the number of coup attempts. 4 of these led to successful military takeovers, showing a risky trend that upended democratic institutions and norms. Military engagements in several African nations have resulted in a number of dramatic political upheavals during the last few years. There was only 1 recorded coup in Mali in 2020, but in 2021, there was a noticeable rise in military interventions all throughout the continent. Political unrest prompted by military interventions was also observed in Chad, Mali, Guinea, Sudan, and Niger. These interventions took a variety of forms, from the installation of military councils to the overthrow of rulers. 5 recorded military interventions attempts in 2022 showed that the pattern was still present. 2 of these successful coups took place in Burkina Faso. Due to these events, the political climate of Burkina Faso underwent significant shifts, highlighting the ongoing volatility in some parts of Africa. Despite the progress made in promoting democratic governance, challenges to political stability and transitions of power remain prevalent in certain African nations. The recurring of coup attempts raises questions about the root causes and underlying dynamics driving these actions, as well as the efforts required to establish enduring democratic frameworks across the continent. However, most of the recent coups have been accompanied by the juntas asking France to leave their country. We've created a video on how France tries to keep 14 Africans poor. We have added the link in the description below. Make sure you watch it too, and subscribe to the new tourist for more. A dramatic coup attempt that occurred in Gabon in 2019 brought to light the nation's continued difficulties with political stability. On January 7, a group of military officers under the command of Lieutenant Kelly Ondo Obiang attempted to overthrow President Ali Bongo while he was undergoing medical treatment overseas. The state radio station in the capital city of Libreville was taken over, signaling the start of the coup. The military commanders made an on-air announcement stating they were establishing a National Restoration Council to bring back democracy to the nation while carrying weapons and wearing military fatigues. They argued that President Ali Bongo, who has been in office since 2009, was unable to perform his duties as a result of his protracted absence for medical care. However, the coup attempt was short-lived. Within hours, government forces loyal to President Ali Bongo took control of the radio station and suppressed the coup attempt. Several of the military officers involved were arrested, and the situation was brought under control. President Ali Bongo, who was recovering from a stroke, returned to Gabon later and resumed his presidential duties. When Robert Mugabe's 37-year dictatorship was finally ended by the military in 2017, Zimbabwe's political landscape underwent a substantial change, following a time of political unrest and internal conflict within the ruling party. Also, the passing of Idris Deby, the longtime ruler of Chad, in April 2021 brought a succession problem. After seizing power, the Chadian army appointed Mahamat Idris Deby as the interim president in charge of a transitional military council. The action was denounced as a dynastic coup by opponents because it was a move to keep power within the same family in violation of constitution. The succession of Ali Bongo, president of Gabon, took place in a manner similar to that of Mahamat Deby, Idris Deby's son, who succeeded his father after the latter's death. Omar Bongo, a former president of Gabon, ruled the country for a considerable 42 years, from 1967 to 2009. In 2009, his son Ali Bongo took over as president. He remained in that position until the eagerly anticipated and successful coup in Gabon. According to the Gabonese Electoral Bureau, CGE, President Ali Bongo won a third term with 64.27% of the vote in the presidential election. The opposition has criticized the lengthy, delayed process leading up to this election, alleging irregularities. President Ali Bongo sought to prolong his family's enduring 56-year hold on power, even as the opposition rallied for transformation in the oil-rich yet economically challenged Central African nation. Burkina Faso, a country in West Africa, has experienced 9 successful takeovers and 1 unsuccessful attempt, which gives it the record for the most successful coups. In contrast, Nigeria developed a reputation for experiencing military takeovers after independence, with 8 coups occurring between January 1966 and the General Sani Abacha takeover in 1993. However, since 1999, the most populous country in Africa has undergone democratic elections to change the government. A conducive climate for the resurgence of coups in Africa has been created by the revolutions against long-standing tyrants. These popular revolutions have a solid foundation and are led by the populace. Their progress frequently depends on the decisions and actions taken by the military. After the year 2000, a noticeable decline in military interventions was observed. However, in recent years there has been a resurgence of coups, marking a shift in this trend. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres remarked that military coups are back, highlighting the rebirth of such events across the globe. Africa has witnessed a higher number of coups compared to other continents. Of the 18 recorded coups since 2017, all but one, which occurred in Myanmar in 2021, have taken place in Africa. 27 coups have occurred in sub-Saharan Africa since 1990. 78% of them have happened in former French colonies, and they're mainly because of French policies and its parasitic neocolonialist agenda in Africa. What are your thoughts on the recent coups in Africa? Do you think that France should be blamed for these coups? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, like this video and subscribe to join the new tourist community. Our next video shows you details of the coup in Gabon. Make sure you watch it too.